Do this. There we go. So that's all together. Right, how are you feeling?
A little bit nervous, a little anxious.
Don't need to be. This is going to be painless. You don't believe me. I can see it on your face.
I've been G session and it kind of opened a whole can of worms that I wasn't expecting. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure what this is to bring.
so you're a bit anxious about what might come up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just look at what it is that you want to know first. Let's just get a little bit of a sense that we get everything together that you're interested in. You've given me the list. You want to know about the craft that you saw when you were 11. Can you tell me what you remember of that?
Yes. So we grew up in Mumbai, India, and this experience was between me and my twin brother. So it was the 12th of April, 1991, about 7:30 in the evening. I was sitting in my room playing with my He-Man toys, and I started hearing a deep humming. And we lived on in an apartment building which was 6 stories, and we were on the third floor. So I started hearing this really deep humming, started feeling it in my body. Something just compelled me to go outside on our little balcony. I was looking up. It was probably about 6 feet high up into the ground. Um, and I'm not sure if I sent you a photograph of it, but I'll see if I can put it up here and you can have a look.
I think you did send me something actually, but it's all good.
Yeah, so that's what it looks like,
Ah,
right? So
wow.
that's my illustration, my brother's illustration. So I'll get to that. So then
Okay.
what happened was this craft is humming, looks like an oval shaped craft, and we didn't really have a point of reference to what aliens and UFOs were. We may have seen something on TV once or twice, being 11, that wasn't really the focus. So this craft is about 6 stories high, so it's very close, and it's
Mm.
humming with the lights around the corner. And then what happens is, in the middle of the craft, what looks like a window opens up, a yellow window, and a three-fingered hand starts waving at me. So I start waving back at it.
Yeah.
Now, our apartment had a wraparound balcony attached to it. So this craft started moving to my right. So I said, okay, maybe I'll catch it on the balcony. So I ran out to the balcony, and my focus was only on the craft, so I didn't realize my twin brother was seeing the same thing. So he was standing out there with his hand up, and I'm like, "Tell me that you're not seeing the same thing." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing." And I'm like, "Why is your hand up?" I'm like, "Don't you see that thing waving?" And yeah. So we both started
Wow.
waving at it, and then the craft basically was humming with the lights around the edges, and then it sort of moved off into the clouds. And then me and my and UFO. So I said, "Okay, we saw you." Our mom is like, okay, sure. She said, whatever you saw, draw it for me. So then we both were in separate rooms, and we ended up drawing pretty much um, the same thing. So the same craft. So
Absolutely.
that's my drawing there, and that's his. And my mom was
Right.
shocked
Wow.
because it's still nighttime, so he's drawn it like exactly like he saw it, and this is how I perceived it, pretty much.
Yeah.
So experience about 3 months after that, I started seeing a lot of orbs in the sky.
Mm.
So I would be compelled to go out on the wraparound balcony and just take walks up and down because it was like a rectangular balcony, looked like a bit of a cricket pitch.
Mm.
So I'd be walking up and down, and you'd see a little light start up in the sky and then start following me. And then I started playing games with them, and I was like, okay, well, if you can hear me, can you go left and can you go right? And they would listen to my thoughts, and that really, really scared me. In Mumbai to New Zealand. that I can remember happened in New Zealand. So after that, we moved to Queensland, Australia, on the Gold Coast. So my whole family. Um, we bought a house from a gentleman that was a rabbi.
Yeah.
So I remember meeting the rabbi, his wife, and his baby, the day that we took over the keys. A few months after moving into that house, the only way that I can describe it is we were sleeping. So me and my brother share a room. There's a desk in the middle and two king size beds on either side of the room. So I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm looking at the end of my bed and I see what I perceive to be a golden outline of the rabbi, including
Oh,
amazing detail with his
yeah.
sideburns, his cap, his wife holding the baby. And the physical sensation I got was somebody just invading my private space. So I was really shocked. I was like, I'm not sure what I'm seeing. I closed my eyes. I'm not religious, but I started praying and I'm like, you know what? Respectfully asking you to leave. Um, kept closing my eyes and opening them, and they were still there.
Mm.
They eventually left. Now, told my mom the next day, she was very disturbed by it. I asked my brother, I'm like, did you see anything? And he was really disturbed. And he's like, I'm not ready to speak to you. So 3 days later, he tells me, I'm like, can you please tell me what you saw? And he ends up saying something totally different than what I'd seen. So he says that when he opened his eyes, he saw a giant winged black demon like beast sitting on my chest with,
Right.
and that was a time in my life I know I was going through a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenges growing up, as a teenager, moving from country to country.
Mm.
And I would always feel a lot of heaviness and pain in my chest area.
Right.
I'm like, can you describe this being for me? And he says it just looked like a big giant bat, like a demonic entity sitting on my chest. And he says that when he locked eyes with it, it noticed him. And as soon as he saw that, it spread its wings as a very big wingspan and flew off. Now I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, okay, so I don't perceive seeing that, but I'm like, did you see anything else? And he goes, yes. And I'm like, well, what did you see? And he goes, there were three guardians. You had three people at the edge of your bed protecting you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, oh yeah, it was this rabbi's
Mm.
wife and the baby. I
Mm.
was like, wow. So that was in my 20s. Then in my 30s, I moved to Canada for 10 years to be with my wife. Nothing really happened there. We moved back to Australia about 10 years ago. We're living in Melbourne. In 2020, I lost my job working in hospitality. So I had no work for a year and a half. So I got depressed. I started eating, put on about 150 kilos, decided to go for a weight loss surgery. And that's when things started wrapping up. Um, I had my surgery in March 2022. Almost immediately, I started experiencing symptoms of a Kundalini awakening. So I
Mm.
started feeling pressure in my temples. Started reaching out to Bill Ryan's forum project Avalon. So I
Yeah.
was on the forum speaking with like-minded people, and they're like, "You're having a Kundalini awakening." So I would start experiencing the pressure in the forehead. I started seeing my aura, perceive my aura around my fingers, so I can
Mm.
see like a light glow. Um, I went to work one day and getting off the tram in Melbourne, the perception of my time changed. It almost felt like people were walking in slow motion, crossing the road. And I was like, I'm not sure what's happening to me. Almost immediately, I started feeling the energies of people. Like I can sense when people are insincere. And it
Mm.
starts to hit me in my solar plexus region.
Mm.
Then I started thinking, like this thought about this craft that we saw when we were children, all these experiences. What could it mean? I mean, I've not had any abductions or anything that I can think of. So I said, okay, let me go for a QHHT session. So I lined up a QHHT session here with a lady last year in I think in February.
Mm.
And almost immediately when I went for the session, physically I started feeling my hands start tingling like crazy.
Mm.
The person that I was speaking to, when I was looking at their face started physically changing. Weird things started happening. The room started becoming cold. The little cat that was there was going crazy, sitting next to me, looking up at the regression bed. I'm like, well, maybe somebody's here. I'm not sure.
Mm.
So we started this session, and once again, my knowledge of the species was very limited. I had heard of the reptilians once or twice by David Icke. I never really paid attention. I knew the standard grays, what they looked like. But almost immediately when the regression session started, I started seeing visions of a purple sky. And I
Mm,
saw floating over a crystalline see-through pyramid. And my being, myself, my consciousness was just a golden light that was coming through the pyramid. And almost immediately when I came down the pyramid, I saw other souls being lifted from the pyramid.
mm,
And in my mind's eye, the word Lyra, Lyra, formed. Again, I had no idea about this. So Lyra forms in my mind. I ended up seeing a being that looks like a gray, but very feminine. And the message came that she was my mother.
mm,
And this is where my soul originated from this Lyran constellation.
mm,
Almost immediately after that, the scene changed, and I physically felt my hands vibrating. So my eyes are closed. I'm looking at my hands, and through my mind's eye, I can see my hands physically change from
mm.
human to reptilian. So
Okay.
they start feeling heavy. They start getting green. I start having claws, and I'm hyperventilating in this session. I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on,
Mm,
and then I start. It's very disturbing for me because I start seeing a memory that I've had when I was a child. So I've always had this nightmare of a wooden door, like a dungeon door with two flames burning on either side. But I've always been afraid to go through that door. Now I'm looking at my reptilian hands, and the door appears, and I push that door open. When I go through that door, um, I see I see reptilians feeding on humans, feeding on
mm,
children, feeding on people,
mm,
and that sort of shocks me to my core. And then and I see them being extremely malevolent as a race and a species with no soul. So the whole theme of this regression was we are all pretty much fractals of one soul. So after I see the feeding, immediately my vision shifts to me as a being standing on his starship. So I have my hand up against the wall of the starship. I'm looking out at the stars. Now, what happened to this reptilian being, which even my voice changed? I started speaking in a gruff voice. I named the creature as well. I'll send you the illustrations of the being
mm,
that I was.
mm,
That was the moment the being, what was happening to this reptilian being is they they don't have a soul as per se. They don't have a consciousness. So this reptilians, when he was consuming humans and consuming other life forms, he started developing a soul. He
mm,
started feeling for the humans. Um, the next thing that comes in my mind is a very heavy, mean looking reptilian looking at me sideways. Like it's not standing face to face, he's kind of standing sideways. And he's angry, he's very angry, and he's frowning down on me. Then he starts smiling. And the next thing I see is I'm lying down in my reptilian body. When I
mm,
look around, it's like a gray room with purple lights, like
mm,
strips of lights running through. I'm
mm,
being pushed on a trolley or on a bed. The next thing I start feeling physically is a pressure on my temples.
mm,
So the regression therapist asks, see what's going on. And I'm like, I can't see anything. But then I tilt my head backwards and I see a short gray with his hands to the side of my temples, working on my temples. I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on. And she's like, keep looking around, describe what you see. And then I look towards my feet, past my feet. There are two tall grays standing
mm.
with the reptilian in the middle laughing away. And right behind the reptilian, and I'd never heard of these, is what I'm describing as a mantid being
Yeah.
in a purple cloak,
Mm, mm,
just standing there. Um, I think supervising the entire thing.
mm,
And what I saw them do was take the soul, the consciousness out of the reptilian and put it into a glass container.
mm,
So then I asked my higher self, what just happened? Why did this happen? So the response I got was that the reptilians can't afford for their kind to start feeling emotions and becoming human Otherwise, their agenda and their cause is lost. Their agenda is domination, control. They don't see themselves as malevolent. Benevolence is a human construct, because when I speak to experiencers about this, I'm like, as soon as I say the word reptilian, they're like, ooh, reptilians, they're evil. Well, we eat chickens, goats, cows, pigs. How do they feel? We don't know, right? So it's hard for us to point the finger and say they're evil or malevolent.
Mm.
So then after they took my soul out, I asked my higher self, so what were they doing? So they wanted to reincarnate me as a human.
Mm.
The reptilians found it as a cruel joke. The reason for that is the soul is on a school journey, which was what I was told by my higher self, is that when you were born on the Lyran constellation, you only knew good.
Mm.
So you never really appreciated being good because you didn't know the evil side. Your second reincarnation was apparently as a reptilian from Alpha Draconis. So the
Mm.
being named himself Rak, Rakkh.
Mm.
I'm just gonna see if I can show you.
You did send a couple of pictures, which I got.
Yeah, so that's what the being looks like, and
Okay.
I'll explain that to you as well.
Yeah.
Um, I'm like, so why was I reincarnated as human? And they're like, well, you can't appreciate the experience of the journey
Mm.
without feeling an appreciation for good and for evil. And when you come through as a human, you have a choice of
Mm.
whether you want to be good, if you want to be evil, if you want to rape, murder, pillage, or do you want to help people. And that's when I realized, you know what, all my life I've been an empath. I've been very loving.
Mm.
I reject that side. I reject the evil.
Mm.
You know, I felt my purpose was to be here to help
Mm.
people, help humanity go through this. The last question I asked was, so I said, is there good and evil? And in a very deep voice, towards the end of the regression session, I said, there is no good, there is no evil, there is or there is not. That's
Mm.
all it is.
Okay.
So I ended this session and I was really shaken because I was telling the regressionist that if she divulged the agenda of the reptilians, we would kill her. So she was spooked out by this. She said, look, you want to do another regression, you have to wait for at least a year, which was a nice way of saying she didn't want to do another regression with me. She said, after your regression, you're going to start feeling physical symptoms of this because all this is coming out. Didn't think anything of it. I went home almost immediately. I had an allergic reaction. My eyes turned red, started watering. I started sneezing, almost vomited. I
Mm.
was in bed with a fever. And then things started going crazy. That weekend, I woke up. My wife was cooking pancakes, and I started hearing a voice in my head saying, remember who you are. Remember who you are.
Mm.
Draconis. It kept saying that, and I'm like, no, I don't want this in my head.
Mm.
And I felt more pressure, and then I was like, oh my god, just get out of my system. And that's when I was compelled to draw. uh, Actually, I didn't realize I had my notepad here. I told my wife, get my notepad. And I find that with experiencers, they're compelled to draw what
Yeah.
they see.
Yeah.
I ended up drawing a reptilian eye. And remember, I told you about, I read your book about the languages. Look at all that. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah. You've got the script.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
not only,
Script.
um, so there is a page. I'm trying to find the page. So I ended up. So this is what I ended up drawing. This is the
Yeah.
being on his starship, standing with his arm.
Right.
I ended up putting the word Draconis in a weird, and I put alien symbols. And this symbol that looks like a pyramid with an eye in it comes up all the time. So
Right.
as soon as I drew this, I ended up drawing this.
Um.
That's my Lyran mother.
Yeah.
That's the symbol again. And this turned out to be almost like the constellation of Lyra when I actually
Right.
researched. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got the information there.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then the Lyran eyes, they don't look like gray eyes. The way that I can describe them is when you see oil in water, when it's pink and purple swirls. So I ended up drawing this. These
Okay.
were the
Wow.
Lyran eyes.
That's
Uh,
really interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now remember, I had no idea about any of these races or anything, and I was struggling with this kind of reptilian attachment. I reached out to a gentleman by the name of James Bartley, but our times didn't meet. I know he lives in Sydney because
Yeah.
he's had some reptilian experiences, but we couldn't really connect, and I just felt really disturbed speaking about this.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to get rid of this attachment, so synchronicity led me to Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I found Joe Dispenza's meditations for self healing because I wanted to heal myself of this
Mm.
external trauma or whatever I've been through as this being. So I started doing meditations, and now I've found that now I'm doing meditations. There's a meditation called Walk for the World, and the
Mm.
meditations are now triggering orbs to come
Okay.
close to my balcony.
Mm.
Um, so I've been putting up. I have a page on Twitter. Like I joined Twitter to reach out to other experiencers,
Mm.
and for the last, I would say about 2 weeks, the orb sightings have gone through the roof. So every time I do a meditation, so that's a blue orb there.
Yeah.
But last week, when I was doing a meditation, um, I went out on my balcony and it looked like a drone, like a little red drone, and it only showed up 3 times. So the first time I thought nothing of it. Second time, I'm like, let me film this because it's only coming when I'm out on the balcony, like
Mm.
I'm being triggered. So I take a I take a picture of this drone, right? Or I think it's a drone. So it's an actual it's an orange orb. Now here's the funny part. Something tells me to zoom in on the orb on my
Mm.
phone and
Mm.
put a filter, and you can't really see it, but it looks like a gray alien's face.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So then I put it through a filter. I'm sorry.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
see
I
that?
can see it. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I put it through a filter, and it's
Yeah.
clearly like a gray alien face. So then people have been telling, and then I start seeing these plasma craft.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
just for, just for a few days, I decided not to engage with this phenomenon outside my house. And then day before yesterday, a yellow green orb, they
Yeah.
just show up as soon as I'm outside. So
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing to trigger this. If it's my state, because I'm always now I'm trying to be in a gratitude state. So I feel my heart rate slowing down. I feel my brain kind of get cloudy. So I don't know if I'm going into an alpha or a gamma state, and my fingers, my hands are vibrating, my ears are ringing. So all these crazy symptoms. Um,
Mm.
Synchronicities. I'll start seeing 11:11 when I look at my phone.
Yeah.
So I'm taking like every time I see something, I take a screenshot of it. 12:12. I'm seeing that everywhere.
Yeah.
You probably heard all of this, right? Like it's so common. But what's haunting me is what's going on.
Mm.
Have I been abducted?
Mm.
I don't want people putting ideas in my head. I just need to have some sort of answers. Like, people
Yeah.
put these labels, oh, you're a star seed.
Mm.
Well, what is a star seed? I'm sure we're all part
Yeah.
of somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, and then it's very hard because on this UFO Twitter that they have, you have factions that are very positive. They're all love and light. There's no malevolent aliens. And then there's the ones that are like, oh, they're all evil. They're out to eat
Yeah.
you. They're out to
I know.
rape you. There's
I know.
no middle ground. So
Yeah.
it gets a bit too much, and you want to get away from the craziness. So now when I engage with people on Twitter, I'm just very neutral. I'm away from all the drama that they stir up. And I've been seeing your documentaries for quite a while, and I was like, you know what, I really have to get this done. I mean, we've been speaking for about over a year and a half, and I just wanted to take the courage now to get through this to see if we can find some answers.
Well, a lot of what you're telling me obviously are the patterns. And looking at what's gone on, you've had certainly a lot to confuse you from what I can see here. That's made it quite difficult. The fact that both you and your brother have seen something very tangible and very real from the word go, basically. And I would say that it's quite likely that that craft has something to do with you for the reason they let you see them and was basically saying hello. So that would have been
Yeah. So sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I just remember this. So in 2022, my brother sent me some pictures of the Gold Coast. He got out of a bus, and they're just random pictures, right? I'm like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
And he zoom into this picture. So in the picture,
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it. Yeah, I can see. It's a craft.
that yeah, so that looks almost like the craft that we saw as children, but it seems to be phasing in and out of existence. So, and he was told when he got out of the bus, they just said, look up. He looked up, and
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing up there? And they said, we are with you always. That's all they said. So they're always in the background. They're
Yeah.
never interfering with our lives. So
Well, I would say they're probably part of your soul family, from them actually making you aware they're around all the time. The fact that you go out and they're there is because there's usually a little trigger that they're making sure you see them. So they're almost calling you outside and you won't necessarily realize that. Anyway, but the other things that you've been talking about, it sounds like in the regression you did get a certain amount of understanding from what you're saying, but not the full picture, which is what you're seeking at the moment, all these questions and what have you. It's and it sounds like from what you were saying, this is before we do anything at all, that you're being shown that you're a hybrid, really, from the sounds of it.
oh. I have black helicopters coming out and seeing me as soon as the orbs show up. I've never seen them before. They look like American
Yeah,
helicopters. I took a
well,
picture.
they're aware. They know when craft come in because they're aware of the energy signature if they come through any kind of portal or whatever. And if you're an experiencer, they'll know it. So that there will be. It's There's a gentleman in England. I always remember him getting pissed off because he said the military know that they're contacting me, and that when they come to me, they can tap into that and actually see it when they're coming. He says, and I'm the conduit for that, he said, because they actually know that they're coming in to see me.
I just sent you a picture of the craft. I mean, of the
Okay.
helicopter and the thing.
Oh, right.
You
Yes.
see that? I've never seen that ever in Melbourne. Like,
No. Well, I'm going to offer you another kind of way of getting answers to see which one you want to go for, because I think that this may be useful to you. Some of it was really interesting how they're saying that because I know of reptilians that have been very loving and very benevolent, and one of the ladies that had an interaction with one was a lady, Barbara Lamb, a very well-known experiencer. She told me that she went into her room one day and there was a 7-foot reptilian, and she actually embraced this reptilian, and he was nothing but loving. I know someone in England who I worked with that actually was a hybrid reptilian human. And she actually could change into her reptilian form, but she was the most lovely, caring, sweet lady you could imagine. And she knew she was one of these orchestrated hybrids. And she had hybrid reptilian children, one on the board craft, but some were actually in an underground base that had been created by the military, which had they had a completely different agenda for them. So I'm not here to say everyone is good or everyone's bad, because I don't think that's the way it works. I think as a soul, we experience all sorts of things, and there's good, bad, and indifferent on this planet. Let's face it. You know, we've got the whole range of loving to not loving on this planet. So as far as I'm concerned, we've got nothing to be proud of, particularly when we look at what's orchestrating our planet at the moment. So I think that all species are in a way growing and evolving, as they learn about that through their experiences and whatever. And we've probably all been at different times many of these different beings that we look at and see. So as far as I'm concerned, the soul has been many different forms, and we all choose a particular lifetime that fulfills our soul purpose. For this particular lifetime, we've chosen to be human this time. It sounds like you've got some connection through what you were saying that suggests you're one of the hybrids, and there's many of them across the planet now that have a link to a particular um, form whether or not it's a zeta gray or whether it's a mantid. I remember an 8-year-old telling me that his family are mantid, and when he dies, he's going back to being a mantid. So, he's got no problem with that because his ancestors are mantid. So, for me, that's what it sounds as though you've got a wonderful understanding of what your sole purpose is, to understand another side of choices. In other words, choices that you can make, which can be loving or not loving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but how do you when you say hybrid, you mean physically speaking or on a soul level? Because I don't have any physical traits per se. I mean, I guess even with the abduction thing, I don't I don't have any memories if I've been abducted. But a couple of months ago, something really weird happened to me. Is that I hate sleeping with my bedroom door open. I always keep it shut.
Okay.
I had a small cut on my forehead and I had a small cut on my wrist. I can understand if you scratch yourself when you're sleeping, but to have the same cut
Yeah.
on the same night is really weird.
Yeah.
And for what purpose?
Well, those are things that you can find out one of two ways. And I'm going to give you an option, because you can get information more than in one direction, and not everyone does it that way, but can do it. It sounds like you're having certainly some interactions. The fact that you can't remember it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't happen, of course. It just means that you're not at a point or in your soul timing to find out one way or another, perhaps until something like this. The fact that you're so multidimensionally already aware, I'm going to ask you a few things because I want to then offer you a different way of accessing information. When you talk about your multidimensional self, do you sense presences around you fairly regularly, this kind of thing?
I I don't know if I do feel that there is something around me, that's for sure. Sometimes the physical sensation would be I feel very like nauseous or giddy in my head.
Okay.
Sometimes I'd be sitting watching TV and I'll see like a flash of light, and I'll tell my wife, "What was that on the balcony? Did you see something?" She's like, "Oh, it's probably just the TV reflecting." I'm like, "No, that's not the TV reflecting." Or sometimes I'll hear. Sometimes it's kind of embarrassing, but say for example, you're in the washroom, you're starting your day. I'm sitting on the toilet sometimes, and then sometimes I'll just look up and I feel like there's a presence there watching me
Yeah,
do my daily business. It sounds crazy. You feel like the energetic thing that's there. You can't see it.
but you feel it.
Like, sitting in my living room because I work from a lot. I tend to keep looking at, all these things. If I told my 20-year-old self that, at 40 I'd be stargazing or thinking about consciousness and all that, it's a complete 360 of who I used to be, materialistic, only worried about all of society's pressures, get married, be successful, make money, buy a house. All that doesn't really matter anymore. Doesn't make sense to me anymore.
Well, it's called waking up. Um, and that's what's going on. What I can say to you is, I'll ask you is, when you get images or information that's just there in your head, do you know where it comes from? Frozen.
They put out a little video about.
Cutting out a little bit, Mac.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear me now?
occasionally you freeze. I don't know why that is. But yes, I was asking, do
Yeah.
you do get information just there?
I get the information, but I don't know where it is. So I got a memory just a couple of weeks ago of me being on a military base, and touching a maroon colored craft that
Mm,
was floating off the ground. I remember the physical feel of touching the craft. It was smooth and rough at the same time. It had ridges in the craft. And then 2 days later on Twitter, all over they're doing a video. They're showing people are showing a video of Lockheed Martin having these metamaterials, which can change shape over time. And I'm like, wow, something's putting this memory in my head.
yeah, okay.
And then all of a sudden you have this synchronistic moment where,
Okay.
um, but then I don't know where the information is coming from.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm going to say is an option for you. When you are having these experiences and when you reach a point where you're being offered information from whatever source, whether it's your superconscious higher self or whether or not it's other intelligences, it's important that ultimately you know a little bit more about who is giving you that information. And you can find that out, and I can tell you how you do it. It's a different process to doing hypnosis because you don't have to go into an altered state. What it means is that once I do a certain program, well, it's a certain visualization come meditation, and it's basically talking to your superconscious higher self. And what it's saying to it is that you want to release anything that gets in the way of your truth. Basically, any program, educational programs, religious programs, blocks, implants, anything, to release those and go from that to a clarity. But then when you've done that, we can start to then find out who it is that's supporting you. And to do that, it's not difficult. Let me explain. It's about knowing their energy or their energetic signature. Oh, sorry, I thought I'd turn that off. Let me close that down.
That's okay.
What that means is that you will know from the way that I facilitated what their energetic signature is. So every intelligence has a different energetic signature. So, and the one that is primarily with you is what I call, some call it the life, their guardian angel, their life guide, their gatekeeper, or whatever it is. What that means is that you're tapping into that particular source. You're calling them in, you're getting an energetic signature. And then you're going to, and I will help you facilitate this, is we want to know what they look like. We want to know who they are. We want to know how many lifetimes they've worked with you. We want to know how they support you. We want to know who else is in the team, because you'll have a team. And what I'm doing is giving you some tools to get direct answers. So this will be, and how do you do that? You shut down left brain and you bring in right brain multidimensional. So it's easy, but it's hard. It's hard because you've got to shut down left brain. It's easy because you don't have to think. It purely comes straight in as you ask the question. And it's just a matter of knowing the difference from what's the source that you're tapping into, can be your higher self as well. Or it can be what, and people want to know, well, how do I know I'm not imagining it, creating it myself? And is a very distinct difference between your creativity and your imagination and getting source information that's just there in your head as you ask for it, which is instant. You haven't got time to think it. It's actually just there. And you know what I'm talking about because you've already had that. It's just recognizing the difference. In creativity, the difference is that if you talk about something that's real, like your bedroom, you know where the bed is, you know where the window is, you know where the door is, because it's your bedroom and it's real. If I said create a bedroom, in other words, use your imagination, you would have to stop and think, well, how big would the room be? Where would I put the door? Where would I put the window? You know, what color would the walls be? It's a different process. It's not instantly in your head. You've got to create it. So that's how you know this isn't, you already know that to a certain extent because you're trusting your intuition a lot here. Everything you're telling me is you're trusting what you're getting, which is just an extension of that is you still don't fully understand who it is that's bringing in the information for you. It's about time you found out, because in a way it's like having your best friend but talking to them behind a wooden door. You haven't opened the door and said, who are you? I want to know who you are, and I want to know how to work with you consciously and in an equal way. So when you get a download, you can then say to them, what does this mean? Explain it to me. And once you've got that connection, you can then start getting your answers and getting your understanding. And it's just a matter of knowing how it works. It's like you've got the radio, but you haven't quite yet worked out the frequency that you need to get the information that you need. And you can do it through hypnosis. I can take you to any of these and get you to explore it and get answers that way. The difference is that you'll do this consciously, and you can continue to do it consciously because you've already now know who it is you're working with and how they can help you. So this will continue to open up for you, and you'll get more and more clarity and more confidence as you continue to do it. And you won't need someone to facilitate it. So if you want to try that way, we can try that way, or we can still go hypnosis. And I don't do the QHT either. Mine is a far faster process than that. I've got my own way of working, which is a lot faster. So it's entirely up to you which way you want to go and which one you feel is going to be the most helpful.
I would like to go through the regression session because when I was meditating the Joe Dispenza, and that's one thing I forgot to tell you, is I started seeing eyes that look like owl eyes.
Yeah.
And that told me that they were my protectors. So the day I drew this being, or this
Yeah.
or owl being, the very next day we went off to an antique store, and for 3 hours all I saw was photographs of owls, or like little figurines of owls everywhere.
Yeah.
And now the owl motif's been popping up everywhere.
Right.
I'm getting, I haven't seen a live owl yet, but so when I do my meditation, the being looks like, it looks like a man, so it's shaped like a human, but it's got an owl face. It's all covered in gold, and
Yeah.
keeps telling me that it's my protector. Um, I'm not so good at illustrating things, so I asked AI, like, how you can put in the prompts in AI, and I said, can you please um, generate for me what I'm seeing in my mind's eye, and then AI generates this. So it looks exactly like this
Mm.
being in
Okay.
gold, and it's always pointing at something. It's got like a
Yeah.
golden rod in its hand, and then I was speaking to an experiencer earlier, and I realized when I look at this picture that when I look at the being, the shoulders have kind of a design,
Mm.
kind of an emblem. And funnily enough, on this AI image,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and I just saw that today. I didn't even pay
Ah,
attention to that. So I'm not sure how I'm able to project my conscious thoughts into a machine millions of miles away that's generating an image for me that shows me almost exactly what I'm seeing in my mind's eye.
fabulous, that one, isn't it? Okay, so we can do it that way. And we can get as many. So what I'd like to say to you, of all your questions, so that I've got an origin of purpose to get you into that, is there any particular starting point that you want to begin with?
Just with why me? Why did I see the craft? Why have I had the experiences? And basically, who am I? Where do I belong? That's the biggest thing. And then what my purpose is moving forward. What my true purpose is, because I'm finding that having a normal, I don't even know what the word normal is anymore, normal human life, that purpose doesn't suit me.
Okay. Well, we can start with that because the way that you are saying what you need is it's talking to, if you like, that superconscious self saying, we want to know the origin of why this is happening to you. So take you to a way of understanding that. I'm not sure whether or not I should give you an extra scenario there, in the sense that when I first start off with, I'm going to get you to create some steps and get you into a where there's doorways and this kind of thing. But there's one other thing I can always ask as well, but I don't know whether or not that's where you want to go from this, because it might be relevant, is when I get you to the passageway, on the left is your present life, on your right is your past lives. And usually I say, where do you need to go for the information? So I don't know whether you want to explore the possibility that this could be something related to the soul quest from another life. It's up to you whether you want me to put that in or not.
We could, because the whole theme of the previous session was past lives, so it's left me with more questions than answers, right?
Well, we're asking, why you're having these experiences, and it may very well be one of your soul mandates that's come before you came here. So what I'm doing is I'm opening it up to a broader perspective, if you like, by saying that. Okay.
Sure.
So I just thought I'd say that because I don't have to do that. But given the complexity of your experiences and what have you, and what you've already discovered, I think it would be very interesting to find out just, you want that higher purpose being made available to you. So we're asking that then. Why me? Why do I see the craft and your purpose? And we can then expand on that.
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, before I start, do you want to go to the bathroom, or do you need to change the lighting to be more relaxed, or
I'm fine. I'm
more
good.
comfortable? I
I've been
think,
meditating yesterday, so I'm in a good space.
well, that's all right. Okay. So that's fine. I don't think you're going to have any difficulty. My inductions are pretty rapid. And since you've done this before, you're not going to have any difficulty with this anyway. So the process is, although I'll start initially getting you to create something to start with, eventually your subconscious takes over and starts to bring you information. So, that'll be no problem at all with you and what have you. Okay. So when you're ready, just close your eyes and take some nice big deep breaths. Allow yourself to feel the breath, to feel the energy as you relax and release any tension, any anxieties, or any concerns. Feel yourself releasing any of those energies. And as I say the word relax, you're going to relax even more every time. Allow yourself to follow my voice, and all the sounds you hear around you will only help you to relax even more deeply. And now I want you to sense or to feel a beautiful cloak of energy surrounding you. It can be one or many colors, whatever comes to mind, bringing in peace, balance, and harmony. Feel those energies surrounding you. Peace, balance, and harmony. Breathe those energies right into your heart space, into each chamber of your heart, calming, relaxing, and balancing as they go through each tiny cell and molecule of your heart. Feel the shift as you do so. Bring in more of that beautiful energy you've created and allow it to fill your lungs with that calm and that peace. As the energy rises up your lungs to your shoulders, and if your shoulders feel tight, let them go loose like running water as that energy travels over your shoulders, down your arms to your elbows, right down to your wrists, hands, and fingers. Feel the shift as you do so. That's right. Bring in more of that energy up your neck to your chin, mouth, nose, forehead, and scalp. Bring the energy over the top of your head and let it flow down your back muscles, right down to the base of your spine. Feel the shift as you do so. As you bring that beautiful, calming, balancing energy over into your abdomen, into the organs of the liver and the stomach, releasing from those organs any old energies of concerns or fears or anxieties. As you exhale, you release those energies. Feel the shift as you do so, as you bring this new, calming, balancing energy into those organs. Allow that energy to travel to your lower organs, to your thighs, knees, ankles, feet, and toes. So your whole body now is enfolded in that calm and that peace that you've created. And now we're calling on the subconscious, superconscious, higher self, oversoul. And for you to see that as a golden energy right above the crown of your head, containing all your higher knowledge, wisdom, truth, and awareness. And to bring that frequency of higher consciousness right into your physical body, right into your heart space. And allow that energy to be part of every tiny cell and molecule of your physical body, from the top of your head to your toes. So you can access information from the deepest level in your physical body as you expand that frequency into your many energy bodies. So you can access that information on any energetic level that you so wish. And now allow yourself to become that orb of awareness and find a way through the portal in your room and allow yourself to be standing on some steps. And as you find yourself standing on the steps, I want you to tell me when you're standing there and what the steps are made of.
Steps look like they're made of white granite, white stone, rough white stone.
That's wonderful. Now I want you to go down the steps. There's 10 of them, and I'm going to count you down the steps one at a time. As I go 10, 9, 8, deeper and deeper. 7, 6, 5, deeper and deeper. 4, 3, 2, 1. You're on the bottom of the steps, and directly in front of you is a brightly lit passageway. And as you walk towards it, you will notice there are doors both to the left and the right. And the doors to the left are your present life, starting at the age you are now and going backwards in time. And the passageway leads to the right is other lives that you have experienced. And we're asking the question from your superconscious self, why you are having these experiences and seeing spacecraft and your purpose. Which way do you want to go, to your left or to your right?
Let's go to the left.
Okay. Now, each doorway has a year of your life, starting from your present age and going backwards in time. We want to know which door and what age it is that will give you some answers to seeing the craft and your purpose for seeing them and who you are. So go back past all the doors to the age that draws you.
11.
Good. What does the door look like to you?
Golden door.
Good.
All
When you're
golden.
ready, sorry, when you're ready, I want you to find yourself going through that door. And the first thing I want you to notice is if you're standing, what you're standing on, whether you're inside or outside.
I'm outside. I'm looking
You're
up at the
outside. Okay. And as you say that you're outside, what are you standing on?
maybe grass.
On the grass. I want you to notice what's directly in front of you and describe to me what you're seeing.
It looks like I'm on a field or a farm. It's just expanse, and I'm just looking up at the stars. It's a quiet night.
So it's night time and you're looking up at the stars. What is there anything that draws your eye as you're looking up at the stars?
Just very bright stars.
Okay.
Constellation of Orion keeps showing up.
Okay. I want you to sense or feel whether or not you're still on your own or whether you can feel any presences with you.
Oh. I just got the image of looks like a mantid being standing next to me, very tall, with a
Uh,
stick in it.
so you're feeling there's a mantid standing there with you.
Yes.
What's the next thing that happens?
He's just there on the field with me, pointing up at the stars.
Okay.
Stick in his hand. It's like
Okay.
a tall wooden thin stick. Like he's leaning on it. Looks like he's very old.
Is he familiar to you? Do you feel that this being is familiar?
I think so. He's the only one that literally showed up on the side.
Okay. Can you ask this being, why are you standing there? What's the purpose of you being there at that time?
Know your soul. This is who you are. The three stars of Orion.
Do you understand that?
Hmm.
What do you want to know?
Who were the beings that came to see me at 11?
What does he say?
It's here to guide you, to awaken you. Putting his putting one of his hands on my heart and the other hand just pointing up at the constellation. There's an energetic flow from my heart, moving from my heart to his hand. And he's pointing that energy towards the three stars of Orion's belt.
What is important about that particular star system in relation to you?
It says they are the guardians. It's not very direct in his answers.
No, okay. So the guardians are from Orion.
Yes, from
So
the
what, okay. So what's your purpose? What is your role and in that connection?
awaken, awaken humanity, and lead the way for new awakening.
So you are to help awaken and lead the way to other um, others on this planet.
Yes, you are one of the many, but still very few.
Have you other soul origins apart from Orion?
Yeah, there's the reptilian presence. This doesn't really want to. Mind really doesn't want to go back there.
Okay. What is it you just need to know about that aspect that's part of your journey on this planet? What do you just need to know or understand from that?
Um, just need to know why I went through that. Why was there a need to see what I saw with those eyes? Without suffering, there's no love.
Mm.
Love is the key.
So really it's helping you understand.
Yeah.
What's your connection to the mantis?
Almost like a guide. Mm.
Is there a frequency or a name that you know him, this guide, this being?
No.
Okay. Why have you been shown the owl image? What's important for you to know about the owl as part of your experience?
Owl is a symbol for a race of people. Um, they work in the shadows just to help steer humanity in the right direction. I
Have they
think
go
they
on?
are my they are my people.
They are your people. And what is their origin?
Just the word Lyra keeps popping up.
Okay,
Constellation Lyra.
Lyra.
Planets there are.
Okay.
But they're beings of old shining light,
Mm.
almost like a protector.
Yeah. When you saw the craft at 5 years, sorry, when you were 11 with your brother, what was the purpose of that particular sighting for you both?
Just to check up on us. Feel like I'm in the craft looking down on me.
So did you go on the craft?
No, I didn't go on the craft, but I get a feeling that I can see through whoever was on the craft looking down at the building.
So seeing through their eyes.
So yeah.
Okay. Was there any particular download of information at that time to you both?
No,
Okay.
just it just triggered an awakening, like a psychic connection.
Okay, so that was the purpose, was it?
Yeah. To awaken.
Okay. So what are you to do with these symbols that you're downloading? What is the purpose of those symbols?
The symbol with the eye in it is basic. Soul origin. It's a symbol of your birth, to never forget where you came from, where you originated from. And the two pyramids meeting together is infinity.
Mm.
For every action, there's a reaction. Cause and effect. What you do in a previous life echoes in this life. That's all I'm getting.
Okay. When you were in this other trance state, you saw a purple sky with a pyramid. Is there anything more about that experience where you saw a female grey? Is there anything about that connection that you need to be aware of?
The gray just shows up, says she's my mother. I think what the mantid is saying, that what's coming through is that they are the managers of the souls. The gray builds the bodies,
Mm.
but the mantids manage the souls.
Okay. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Have you any incarnation where you have been one of their species? This is the mantis.
I don't have any recall.
Okay.
It moves towards Orion's belt, constellation of Orion.
Okay. You see a great number of orbs now. Is there anything that you need to understand with why they're coming to you in such numbers? What is it that that is showing you that you need to know?
Orbs are basically saying that I'm ready. I have been ready. I just didn't know it. Almost feels like the orbs are a sign of reciprocity, that the soul is finally learning its lessons. And it's always around Orion. When I see the orbs, whether they flash me or they fly by.
Is there anything this mantis wants you to understand at this moment in time to help you with your understanding and purpose on this planet?
find others, and prepare. Saying that we'll have contact within this this incarnation. So within a few years, humanity, souls on this planet will get to meet higher souls through the form of NHI. But it just won't be physical beings. There's only a few of us that are getting in tune with our true nature, which is we are not just a body. We're more than a body. We're endless. We're connected to a source, the all. So the humans call it God, God consciousness, supreme consciousness. But the word that's coming through, the word that they use is the all, AL. I have to find the courage to be able to speak my truth so I can help others that are struggling as well. I'm just saying, don't be afraid.
Is your brother on a similar trajectory as you? Is he, or has he got a different mandate?
He's not the same soul origin, but we are put together to support each other. He has a much more difficult time here on this planet, on this existence, than I do. He's one of the people that I can help.
Is there anything you need to know about your family that you can help or support with?
I always felt my physical family were not actually my family. I just don't feel any connection to them.
Mm.
The family is up there, it's not down here.
How many do you have supporting you in the non-physical?
It's hard to say, but I always feel my grandparents are up there.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents and my aunt that passed away from COVID.
Mm.
Anytime I think of her, it tends to bring out an orb. And that tells me that it's because we're all part of one supreme being.
Mm. Is there any particular support or intelligence that you need to be aware of more consciously at this time?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else that the mantid wishes you to know, or have you got any other question you'd like to ask?
So it's not about who I am in the physical sense, but he's saying that mix of messages. He's saying that your current family is from the constellation of Orion,
Mm.
even though you're born or your soul was created in Lyra.
Mm.
Orion family is these avians, the owl type beings. I don't have a name for them.
Okay.
It's
Is
just me in the field.
okay. Have you got any other question that you'd like answered?
No, but see a see a orange craft landing in the field.
Mm.
Triangle shaped craft. I've never seen that before. But it's not a flat triangle. Looks like a triangle when you're looking at it from above, but when it lands, it's got a slightly different shape. And it came from Orion, from that constellation.
When did you see it?
Just came in now, just landed in the field.
Okay. Why are you being shown it?
Saying, do you want to take a ride on it? That they, as in the avian beings, the one that just came out with the golden staff in his hand,
Mm.
come be with your family.
Is that an opportunity you're being offered, or is okay? What do you feel about that?
Go on a heartbeat.
So do you know when it will be offered to you? Is it's something that will be? Okay.
Movie.
Mm.
So I finally understand what when the being is pointing in my vision, pointing at a craft. So he's inviting me to go. And
Mm.
that's what the artificial intelligence images generated,
Ah, yes.
pointing to the craft.
Mm.
And that's the answer.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go with you. And what's the purpose of going? Oh, I see why. So they are able to connect to God consciousness directly. They're showing me they can take their craft up, high up into the universe. And God consciousness is nothing but a really big golden energy. And what they do is take their craft and go into that energy to nourish themselves,
Mm.
to never forget we are all part of one. As I speak these words, I can feel the vibrations in my hands.
Mm.
My ears are ringing. feeling is of just absolute peace and love, being
Mm.
around the all. I can't describe the feeling. It's no human feeling. All the human worries, everything's gone. It's like a part of you that's missing is complete.
Mm.
Everything about them is gold, golden. There's a golden hue around them, golden colored ships, golden colored weapons. They keep a balance in the universe.
Okay.
Feels like I'm with family, just being around it.
Mm.
Describe it as if you're flying into the sun.
Do you visit them often?
No, this is the first time I'm getting a sense of who they are, what their role is in this grand universe.
Mm.
They're telling me not to focus on species of
Mm.
beings.
Mm.
They're just saying focus on developing your connection to the all.
Mm.
All that matters.
Mm.
Their craft is beautiful. It's all gold. Um, the technology is amazing. Um, they're beyond the need of technology, but they still use it because they can't traverse the universe without it. And it's just telling me like everyone has a choice on their soul journey. Mm, they like watching us to see what decisions we make. Some people move away from source, and some people go towards it. Their, I guess their agenda is not about hybridization, not for the purpose of infiltration, but it's more for the purpose of the evolution of the soul. They're fascinated by the fact that when you're a human, we're having a human experience. Everything leads to choice. So they have the ability to play with souls, their ability to abduct humans, take out the soul, put it in another body, and see how it reacts to earthly situations, to earthly emotions, to earthly people. Trying to see what makes the soul tick more than anything. That's all I'm getting.
Okay. So have you any other questions from that?
Where from here? What happens
Mhm.
now? And all they're saying is continue to be yourself, continue to be kind and help people. Because there's a lot of people like you that are being shown things, that are being awakened, but don't have the courage to speak about these experiences. And just prepare for whatever is coming.
Okay. I want you to take yourself now to the steps once again, as we thank those that have brought through that wonderful understanding. And we're asking that that will continue now spontaneously and as you need it in the time ahead, that it will be made available to you in a conscious as well as a superconscious state. As you count up the steps, as I take you 1, 2, 3, becoming more aware, 4, 5, 6, becoming more aware, 7, 8, 9, 10, and bringing your essence back into your physical body in harmony and in balance. And when you're ready, opening your eyes.
Wow. First time I've seen that.
Well, you did really well.
Okay, so it's given me a bit more clarity that the reason why I'm drawn so much to these three stars is because that's where this family states where they're from.
Mm.
Um, Curious that the so this mantid being was just with me on the grass. Looks like he was leaning on a stick. Seemed like he was really old and wise.
Mm.
Put his hand on my heart
Mm.
and the other hand pointing at Orion.
Mm.
That's how he was communicating with me. And while he was communicating, the the craft flew down. Do I have? I'll quickly draw it for you. So just trying to think. Almost look
Oh, wow.
like this. So it was all golden.
Wow.
And if you see, actually, it's more. It was more flat on the bottom.
Mm.
It was more flat on the bottom, but it
Okay.
had like a little crest. And then when you saw the craft from when you saw the craft from a bird's eye view, it just was basically a triangle.
Oh, okay. That's what you were seeing.
So it almost feels like this session is completely different from the other one. Um, I got into this session easier. The other one was 5 hours. This one I got into easier. I was able to get out easier, but I'm still in
Yeah,
that state.
both hypnosis, yes. Yes.
Um,
I don't need to take a long time to get you there. It's a completely different process.
and so I see the craft coming down, um, the being getting out with whatever his weapon or his stick is. It's crazy because it's you see how he's he's pointing
Yeah, I see
to
that.
the ship. So now I understand what they're saying is to come on the ship. And so I rendered all these four AI images just to say a golden being that looks like an owl pointing
Yeah,
towards his craft. And now this is a picture of a being on the craft himself,
gosh. Yeah,
right? Again, another being
yeah,
pointing upwards.
yeah. So,
Um, and then that was the final rendition, which is another
right.
being again.
Yeah,
So the owl is a symbol of, or the earthly symbol of these creatures, of these benevolent creatures. I don't know what name they are, but the main the main being that speaks to me calls himself Abraxas. That's the name that just popped up. I mean, I've heard it before, but
yeah.
it's what it said is
Well,
Abraxas, keeper of the souls. That just came to me now.
well, there you go. So you know that that's an important connection that you've got in terms of um, who you're connecting to. And these are the questions that you were looking for. You were looking for understanding of the bigger picture from everything, Mac, that you told me. Was you want to know your purpose, you wanted to know what the bigger picture was, where did you fit in all of that? And I covered everything in the questions, and you got more than that actually as well. How do you feel about what what you came up with?
I feel I feel like some burden's been lifted off my shoulders. Is that I don't have that nagging in the back of my head as to what I've seen. I can now take a step back and process. Maybe I'll try and illustrate the mantid being. I'll try and fine tune the craft, the way the craft looks. It's not an organic craft, it's simply made out of gold.
Yeah.
What they're trying to tell me, from what I understand, is that, and I got this in my last regression,
Mm,
and it all kind of ties in. Is it's a battle for the soul.
mm,
You can manipulate a body through
mm,
hybridization.
mm,
You cannot manipulate a soul, and that's what they're trying to do.
mm,
Is to manipulate a soul to do whatever their bidding is, whatever the evil agenda or the malevolent agenda is. They cannot do that.
mm,
Now I understand why. Okay, I understand why. So when I was a reptilian and I
mm,
was eating or consuming the humans, and I started developing that soul, they couldn't control it.
mm.
So they had to take it out like a disease. They had to extract it,
Yeah.
move it somewhere else.
Mm.
Um, my head's buzzing. Um,
What?
um, my wife's probably going to kill me if I go out now and meditate because she says I don't spend enough time with her. Like I'm kind of floating off into. la
Mm,
la land.
mm.
But I think you become that way once you've had these experiences. You just don't want to have you get disillusioned with the human experience. Material things don't mean much anymore.
That's
It's
right.
about, um, growing what's within. I almost feel like a feeling of completeness here. I don't know if you've had people speak about this, or if you've seen common patterns.
Certainly, there's different levels of information coming depending on where the soul is at in terms of its awakening. So it's appropriate to where that individual soul seeks understanding. For some, it's a lot more of the what I call the 3D multidimensional reality. But many go and explore it from this higher understanding of the soul. And I get a lot of that. And that's why, when I said to you, you've got nothing to fear from this because of the way that I work, that's what we're looking at. That's the intent. That's the frequency. So that's what you were bringing in was that frequency because your intent was, I want to understand the bigger picture of who I am, what I am, and whatever. And that was what we said, right at the beginning when we're talking to your higher self, your superconscious, take us to where this needs to happen now because that's what you were ready for. And so the intent was there, the higher self already, because we brought the higher self in. And
Mm.
that's what we were using and working with. Because that's how I do my regressions, is I'm talking to the higher self. I'm asking the higher self to come in and lead you to what you're ready for.
May I just ask out of curiosity? I didn't notice this, but the painting behind you almost looks like source consciousness is where they took me.
Right.
Turn around and look, you can see the sun, and
Yeah.
it's golden.
Yeah, and there's an 8-year-old that told me he goes along one of the pathways, and he even said the planet's not big enough there, but it's actually bigger than that, and it's one he goes through. And he's aware of it. There's been several people that have connected to that, and it was a gift that was given to me some many years ago now, 20 years ago, I suppose. And that's why it's there.
Oh, I literally just looked at it and I almost did a double take because
Yeah,
it's golden.
yeah.
I didn't even think of it.
Mm. So what went on, Mac, when I said to you, you don't need to go into the what's no longer useful to you, like your expressions with the reptilians. The understanding's already there. You don't need to go back to that.
Yeah.
You've got your understanding. That wasn't needed. And most of what I do is helping people connect the dots so that they've got the bigger picture. They can understand more of what's actually going on. And it's always, in the theme generally of the higher purpose. And that's what you got from your mantis being that came in and was guiding you into the information that you needed. And that was all we needed to do was facilitate that connection. So that's why it doesn't take very long. None of mine take very long.
And I never even, I didn't even give a lot of thought about this session. I was anxious about what would come out, whether it would be more of the reptilian aspect or this Lyran aspect. But I don't even know where this mantid being came from. I have never even heard of them before. But now this is the second time. So this tells me that it's almost like they are like the major players on the chessboard. They move things around. And what I am aligned with is even higher than them. So that these avian beings or these
Mm.
lions, they seem to be the positive factions that's sort of keeping an eye on humanity, keeping an eye on the whole process of, cliched as it sounds, soul recycling that's going on with the mantids.
Yeah,
Now, and although I've heard that they use the little grays to do their bidding, so the little grays are just, I don't think they really have a soul. They just They're like robots.
Yeah, like worker bees.
But I think in putting everything together, I can see that there is the the hybridization programs. I've spoken to a gentleman in New York that has conscious memories of being a
Mm,
hybrid. He's dealt with mantids and stuff. I'm wholeheartedly feeling in my soul that the hybridization process is that certain species may have a consciousness to survive and do things, but they don't have a soul. So
mm,
hybridizing with humanity gives them a container
mm,
to mold that soul the way they want to do their bidding.
mm,
But they're not being very successful. They're building the hybrids. They're building the physical hybrids.
mm,
But those hybrids, first of all, have a hard time being on this
mm,
on the surface of the planet. So they're mainly in the craft, from what I've seen or what I've heard. It's difficult for them to live down here.
mm,
So they're still having a struggle building a container for the soul that is going to serve their purpose. That is the epiphany that I'm having right now. In the grand, I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm getting. And having this session with you right now has it's unlocked
mm,
the purpose part of it. So now I know that these beings are there. They're the protectors. Surely, yeah, the soul may have originated in the Lyran constellation from source consciousness, but these are the ones that are now sort of assisting me,
mm,
guiding me, and protecting me.
mm,
Like I'll tell you, I made an account on Twitter because I was seeing that there were certain experiences out there. I'm still very private because I don't show my face, because of the trolls and the harassment. I just started speaking on these Twitter spaces where you come on and you verbally speak. Thought no one would hear me. I did my first one, 300 plus people turned up. Not a single person trolled me. Not a
mm,
single person abused me. So when I put all my posts up on Twitter with the orbs and the videos of the orbs flying by, like I even had them last night. Not a single. There was only one post that I put up. I just don't understand why the life of me it brought out the most nastiest people.
mm,
I had to protect that post because I don't give my energy to negative people. But it was basically it it looked like a reptilian eye, but a lot of people were telling me that it's actually a portal with
okay,
more alien writing on it.
mm,
I just couldn't understand for the life of me why people would get triggered by that.
mm,
Let me see if I can find it for you. Yeah, so everything I post on Twitter, I've never had a problem.
mm,
That one post, and it just triggered people to go crazy.
mm.
Um, Sorry, just bear with me for one moment. So yeah, so this is the post that I showed you earlier,
Oh, yes, I remember.
and
With
it's
I
got
can,
more writing on the top and the bottom, but this
yes, I
post
can see that.
really triggered people. I'll email this to you.
Yeah, I think what it's the frequency of it that if someone's not in the right frequency, it's a part of actually activating or awakening people, because a lot of the script, that's part of their role, is to activate on a more multi-dimensional level. A lot of the script, people are coming down with scripts and downloading scripts all the time, and different writing and star languages. A lot of that's coming through now, and it's part of this activation. And I think you may be activating people that are not so sure they want to be activated.
Oh, people were saying it looks like a portal. Someone said it looks like an Ouroboros, which is like it looks like a snake that goes around in a circle. And then randomly, I'll draw my um. So then this is the being that I was previously as a reptilian. So I started just so what happened with this was the day that I started getting do are I mean, I find a lot of to start really getting good at illustrations. I just started drawing the eyes, and this is still a work in progress. But can you imagine just your soul is guiding your hand, and you start drawing this. You start drawing the eyes, and then you start drawing the head with the ridge crest. Where did all this come from? Like, it's stuff that it just completely blows my mind.
Well, some of this is,
But some other
yeah,
like
yeah. Well, some of that will be your higher self, but some of it will be those that are guiding you and giving you information as you're ready for it, just like the mantis was there guiding you and giving you information. So the mantis may very well be one of your team, is it, for want of a better word. But also you've got your superconscious higher self downloading information. And a lot of it is timing, Mac. You get it when you're ready for it, when you are able to assimilate it as well. So, it'd be no good perhaps them giving this to you when you're 15 or when you're doing stuff or whatever. It has to be at the right time when you're ready for it and you're ready to not only assimilate but utilize what the information is encoded in that as well.
I mean, look, what's blowing my mind. You said that I was potentially a hybrid, but when you say hybrid, what sort of sense of a hybrid do you get? Is it a physical hybrid or on a soul level?
I'm mostly the hybrids have more in their genetic nature. So in other words, there's an aspect of various parts of you. I mean, what we know with the DNA, at least 12 different species created Homo sapiens sapiens, maybe as many as 22. And certainly in that is the reptilian DNA. We've all got it. Some of us, it will be what's activated depends on the awakening and what the soul wants to activate first for whatever reason. So some will have more of their Pleiadian origin activated and they'll say, perhaps I feel I'm from the Pleiades, or someone else may have their Andromedan DNA activated first and they'll say, I feel like I'm from Andromeda. But actually, we have the potential of utilizing all of that potential from all those different species, depending on what the soul wants to utilize or activate. It's up to the soul to say, where do I want to connect and what frequency do I want to connect to? But we've all got reptilian DNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's, but it is being highlighted because there was a lesson in there for your soul to understand. So that's why it's been highlighted for you, because each one has certain characteristics. We've got the Pleiades, it's like Arcturus, they're apparently guardians. For example, they're guardians on the planet. And some people say, I've got this weird connection to Arcturus. So often it's their guardian nature is coming through because that's the part of them that their soul has activated in that mix that we have in our DNA. That's a very sort of 3D response to it, if you like. But as we become more activated, we are able to access more and more of our heritage, which comes from many different places, and we can access all of that. I mean, souls are not just generally got one or two origins anyway. I mean, we could have been in many star systems, many galaxies, many forms from extra-dimensional, interdimensional, transdimensional, some from our future. There's a 7-year-old that told me he came from the future, and what he looked like when he was in the future and what have you. So we can access all of that. It just depends on what journey we want on this planet and what adventure we want on this planet, that we will call in the tools we need, which is the aspects of ourself that will enable us to walk through and follow our soul journey and our mission. And that was part of, I would suspect, your soul mission was to have an understanding of the reptilian side and why some people may be drawn that way, or what actually is different agendas that are going on, so that you get understanding and possibly you're acting as a kind of conduit of information to these other intelligences that are trying to understand what's actually going on this planet, because a lot call themselves insiders or whatever, you know.
But how I mean, the thing is, like in my previous session, I mentioned, as the reptilian being, I mentioned Elena Denan because she speaks of the race of reptilians called the Siakar, and that's what I said in that voice. I said we are Siakar, and
Mm,
my name is Rak. I said that, and I
yeah,
said that we're watching her very closely because we know that she is sort of onto us. She knows what's
mm,
going on. I mean, each person has experiences, each person has their own truth, and I always tell people, I think disclosure has already kind of happened for all of us. We're living it every single day.
mm,
Most people are waiting on bated breath for the American government to say, oh, the craft are here. We see it every single day, we experience it every single day.
mm,
I feel like now my life purpose is to be able to use my experiences and bring them out so I can help other people speak about this. But I
yeah,
don't find that support. Forget speaking. I mean, I can speak to my wife maybe a little bit before she thinks I'm crazy. Can't even speak to my parents. I told my mom about this. She said, "Oh, you're demonically possessed." Spoke to
mm,
my doctor. She said, "You're having hallucinations." So I'm
mm,
like, it discourages you to speak about these things. But I find that there's no support structure. There's nothing in Australia. I spoke to, like, the whole day. I spoke to an experiencer today in Ireland in the morning. I spoke to Sev Talk, which I'm not sure if you're aware of.
mm,
Sev is from America. You've probably spoken to her, so I joined her
yeah,
conversations. It actually felt like today was the first time in a long time I took a day out of my human existence to focus on this, because it's just been sort of in the back of my mind, and you can't really live your life if you can't if that's that sole purpose, as cliched as that sounds,
yeah,
you're trying to find that, who am I, where am I from, what is my purpose. And I think, look, I really thank you, because I had no idea that the session was going to go this way, that it was going to be so positive. But just switching my brain frequency and focusing on those questions within this session has just opened up something. So
yeah. And what I put as post hypnosis, and I always do that, is that now more is going to be made available to you as you're ready to assimilate it. And when I send you this recording, when you listen to it, it will activate more information. So it will continue to work for you, which is always that, the great thing with this is that you have a session and it's going to keep you going for quite a while. Because every time you listen, there'll be new stuff that comes in because you're going back to that frequency. So you'll find that, but I've also done that post hypnosis, which is saying more information now you're receptive to and you're ready for. I will say to you, I very rarely ever get anything that is dark or uncomfortable, because I'm working with a different frequency completely. I'm working with, the higher purpose of most people and whatever, and it's all about helping them to connect the dots. So I did say it was going to be quick and simple, and you'll be okay, because I know you will.
thank you, I appreciate it. It is a very difficult thing to live with. Just knowing that truth for yourself and being able to speak about it really helps. And I always have this. I have this physical feeling like that I'm standing on a ledge about to jump off, and
Mm,
I feel it in my bones that something is coming.
mm.
Something is already here, in the sense that I think 2020 was a trigger for humanity. A
Yes.
lot of people that were just blindly being a sheep, including myself, were just going through life, going through the motions, and then all of a sudden the world stopped for everyone.
Mm,
A lot of people had time to reflect and think on themselves. And although I was always awake as a child and I would always question things, I would think differently than most people would. My trigger was, I think, the pandemic, and then the ultimate trigger was losing that weight loss surgery. I lost 60 kilos. I'm a completely different person.
mm.
So I think shedding that weight was also shedding part of maybe the
Yeah.
soul trauma from
Yeah.
previous life. I think that sort of started shedding off, and then my eyes started opening up. I've had so many weird experiences. I was sitting at home one day, after I started drawing all this. Um, and remember how I said I was seeing, perceiving what's called like a golden aura around my hands?
Yeah.
I was watching breakfast, Queensland breakfast, or Queensland, some kind of breakfast show, and I had my hands sitting like this, just on my lap, and I started feeling my hands were heating up. They were vibrating like crazy, and I was getting afraid. I'm like, oh my god, what's happening?
Yeah.
The sun was shining, and I thought it was the sunlight reflecting off my. I closed the curtain and I sat. And when I looked at my fingers, I had golden light emanating from my fingers, tapering away from me. And I was really shocked. I was like, wow, it's never happened that intensely, but it was literally coming out of my fingers, going all the way to the television screen. So just
Well, healing
fascinating.
may be part of that. You may be able to use that energy if you ever want to work energetically with people with healing. Sounds like you've got that ability as well, from what you're saying.
Yeah, I do actually use it on myself, because I find now that I'm very energetically sensitive around people. So if I feel a person's insincere, I start feeling pain in my solar plexus right away.
Yeah.
I learn to protect that region. I start doing energy work on my solar plexus, because crazy, these are all new symptoms. Like, even 5, 10, 2 years ago, if you,
Mm.
I'm feeling in this moment right now, I'm feeling almost emotional, in the sense that my life purpose is
Mm.
clicking. It's solidifying into what I need to be doing. I
Mm.
can still live my human existence, still work my job 9 to 5, but I think I need to be helping people with, because all our experiences are so multifaceted, right? Some have really negative experiences with the my labs, and the abductions, and but I want to try not to focus on the negative agenda. And there's a lot out there. You'll
Yeah.
see it on social media. There's either a very benevolent side, oh, we're all love and light,
Yeah.
aliens can do no harm, and then the other side is, oh, they're really evil. And but I'm thinking, look, if they were really evil, we would not be here. So there's definitely something or someone or some force protecting us. And now I'm finding out that they're protecting me, and I think I'm part of them. Right?
Yes.
I'm part of this avian
Yeah.
race of protectors. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Most welcome. It's been a pleasure, and I'm so glad that it's been so successful for you. I had no doubts it would be. So, because they only send me those that are ready. So, I just do my bit, but you did beautifully and well done. And you're going to find it'll all change for you now anyway, because you've opened that door. So I will send you the recording by WeTransfer. You've got, try and download it fairly soon, because it wipes it after a week. But other than that, you'll have that to listen to whenever. And you'll probably find very soon there are things you've forgotten that you didn't remember that came up. So that will remind you, but it will change. So if you have any queries at all, let me know.
I will. Thank you so much, Mary. Appreciate it. And you are an absolute treasure for humanity. So please don't forget that.
And so are all these beautiful souls I have the pleasure of meeting. So it's a gift both ways.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Take care.
Take care.